What's been the biggest shift in the last 10 years which you wouldn't have seen coming? So 2008 social, business pages were like people, you do a page notification, it goes out to everyone.
That's amazing.
Just the whole,
I'm still trying to explain to people about organic social media and how there's not a lot of it around anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that's always an interesting conversation.
Is that the biggest thing you've seen shift? Organic? People bitching out that they have to pay to get eyeballs?
For things. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest ones. Probably the most interesting thing is like 10 years ago, it was kind of people didn't feel as entitled as they do now. Which is interesting. Because back then it was like, oh, this is so nice of Facebook to create this thing that I can use for free. I don't have to pay for. Because remember we used to pay 50 cents for every text.
Yeah.
You know, so
oh, you're right, yeah.
It used to be like, oh, this is actually quite nice of this company to give me all this stuff for free. And of course I don't mind them giving my data because they're giving me all these cool like free communication platforms because it kind of overtook. Instead of having to pay 20 cents or 50 cents to talk to someone, you could do it for free through these platforms. Everyone was grateful, and now there's a lot of entitlement, which I think is really interesting.
And do you think that's happened because they've only just come around to the fact that the data is more valuable than oil?
Probably.
Because if they didn't, why would they bitch out about it, right? Like what would the...
And there's more choice. I think...
Privacy, data,
realising that is actually important. But I also think you're so used to, and there are so many different ways to connect. Like if Facebook was cut off tomorrow, we've got other platforms. We can still have that instant messaging we've got Google. You know, we've got everything else. So we expect it, and there's a lot of entitlement there, which is interesting because we did not have that.
People getting fancy. People getting fancy.
People are like, oh my goodness, Facebook's got down. Damn them. And I'm like, you realise you don't give them any money. Like, they're giving you a thing for free. But people just don't think about that.
Yeah.
It's like,
I get it.
It's just an interesting psychological. Not that they should not think that. I just think it's funny.
Yeah, because they don't realise that it's free and it's valuable. Use it.
Yeah. Well, what would you do if you didn't? Well, probably something else. But what if you didn't have any social media platforms? If you suddenly had no social media platforms and no electronic means of communication cut out of your life, would you pay to have it? Probably.
Hell yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting one.
How have you felt about the size of... In 2008, Facebook was small. In 2018, Facebook, or 2010, Facebook was small. 2020, Facebook is arguably one of the biggest, most powerful engines in the world. How have you felt seeing the platforms which were small become really, really big? And like obviously Zuckerberg going up to Congress, all that other crazy shit, like that whole world. How have you felt seeing people that were small become big with power, and how do you think they've navigated those waters rightly and potentially wrongly, or the challenges that they've seen in the last 10 years?
Oh, I found it absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
And especially now as a businesswoman who's gone on my own journey and know how hard it is to run even a business of my size, I think, gosh, these people are younger than me, running businesses that are, literally changing the world. Wow, there's a lot going on there, and I find it absolutely amazing, actually. I find it really inspirational, to be honest.
Got ya.
Because I think back in the day, there was very much a path, like, you went to school, you went to university, you had the right connections, you could maybe, go up to Congress or whatever.
Yep.
And now I do think it's anyone's world.
Games change.
Games change.
Do you feel that?
So I find it inspiring.
Yeah, and inspiring because they're the first wave that have popped globally,
yes,
with power that matters, and they didn't do it the normal way.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
The underdog.
Yeah, it's your Gretas. It's the
unknown. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the fact that someone who's literally out of nowhere through technology, through their voice, can literally change the world. And
Time Person of the Year.
Yep. Exactly. It's just phenomenal.
How do you...
Scary, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Scary in a good way.
Yeah. What gets you most fearful about where social media will go in the next 10 years? So 10 years ago, it was, we're just starting out, this is Wild West, everyone's going to data jail. 2020 is like, okay, it's here now, and we've got some data issues which are getting addressed, and we now can communicate globally with billions of people. Where do you think this wave is then going to head if we're then 10 years from now looking back in with where it sits?
Oh gosh, I'm excited to find out. I think there's a few things which would be interesting to be careful of, because there is that whole digital detox, I think, is really important. So
offline being the new offline. Yep.
Yeah, people becoming, I do think it's really important people don't get too dependent on an addictive thing like social media. Ironically, I don't think of it's not really social media people are addicted to. They're addicted to that having to have constant connection to people all the time and not spending enough time by themselves. So I think that's really something we're going to have to watch as a global global world.
The balance off between
of I think we've gone past the doing things for likes stage.
Yes.
I think that's gone through, and I know everyone was really, really worried about that. I think we've gone past, I'm going to do that just to get a like.
Living for likes.
I'm not worried about the world in that space. I think privacy and probably the biggest actual real thing we're going to have to be very, very aware of is like some completely bad dark hackers coming in and like hacking into something like Facebook and doing something really bad. I don't know how bad it could be. I'm sure it could be horrendous. But that's actually probably the worst thing that could happen. Like almost like a global tech war would be interesting. Like a data war.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that looks like. I just feel that's my gut saying that's a risk.
Someone said a while ago, there'll be one day in your life where your FPOS card won't work and you can't get online.
Yeah.
That day will come, and then what will happen?
Yeah, or like in the Handmaid's Tale, where they suddenly like any woman that had a bank account, she couldn't get her funds anymore. All the men did. I don't think that quite exact thing would happen. But what if they just went, oh, sorry, everyone, imagine if everything's in Bitcoin and stuff like that. And then, oh, we're just going to say, sorry, America, but no one can access their bank accounts today until you pay us X amount of money. Like kind of like digital piracy could actually.
It could be a thing.
Could be a thing.
Well, they do.
Probably is happening and we don't even.
They throw things out. But digital hostage taking.
Yeah, digital hostage I think will be more, hostage taking, pirating. I think that's going to be the next.
Digital wars. Digital and data wars.
Yeah. And I'm hearing all sorts of reading weird things about, stuff happening in Eastern Europe around this sort of area. Like it's fascinating.
What's popping in Eastern Europe with data and
just the whole thing with Russia apparently taking, sort of like basically kind of cutting off internet to certain countries. And all sorts of crazy stuff. Yeah, it's all in like Monocle, so I'm sure it's true, but it's all sorts of random things.
Power in the data.
Yeah.
It is fair that data now is more valuable than oil, so interesting.
And Israel's doing some really interesting thing in the tech data space. I mean, they're kind of the experts in
security side,
huge. Cyber,
yep.
And they're doing really, really fascinating stuff there. So I'm kind of quite keen to go over there and have a look at what they're doing.